This is where the fun begins.
So I'm just gonna jump right into it because this video has been a long time coming.
I've been looking forward to this.
I want to talk about Disney Lucasfilm.
Don't believe them. Don't trust them. They are dying. Let them die.
And more specifically, I want to talk about John Boyega's Finn and his role in the sequel trilogy. Now, it's no secret that Finn was sidelined and done dirty in the trilogy, but there seems to be a disagreement of where he was sidelined. You have most people say The Last Jedi, which is what John Boyega says as well. And then you have some people say it was The Rise of Skywalker that actually did Finn dirty and that The Last Jedi was a perfect story for his character. I'm going to need you people
Shut the fuck up!
When a black person, and yeah, I'm going to specify John's race because that's what he is, a black man. I don't care if you don't see color. That's what he is, and that's what the film industry sees, a black man. When a black person stands up to talk about the racism they endured in the film industry, that is risking their entire career. That is getting blacklisted. Because as much as Disney Lucasfilm likes to parade itself around as this woke, diverse, open, welcoming place for people of color, for the LGBT, for everyone who is a part of a marginalized group, that's all bullshit. They don't give two flying fucks about any of that. All Disney cares about is money. Get what you fucking deserve! It's when John Boyega stood up and said that Disney Lucasfilm used him for some tokenism bullshit and then sidelined him the second they could in The Last Jedi. I'm gonna need you to
shut the fuck up!
Do it, do it, do it.
I have seen a lot of people say that, no, John Boyega was talking about the marketing of The Force Awakens and the lightsaber. He doesn't have a problem with The Last Jedi. Or John Boyega is wrong. I thought The Last Jedi was brilliant.
Shut the fuck up!
I don't give a fuck if you like The Last Jedi. That is your right to like The Last Jedi. You want to know what you don't have a right to do? You don't got a right to say, John Boyega was wrong, I know better. You weren't fucking there. Let's get that shit straight. You weren't fucking there. John Boyega was. And I hear people say that they loved Finn in The Last Jedi. They loved his subplot. Let me just remind you, a subplot is still that. A sub, not the main plot. And I don't give a fuck if you thought it was the right thing to do for him to be removed from the main plot. Guess what that is? By the definition of sidelining. That is what a subplot is. If you take Finn, who is in the main plot of The Force Awakens, and you downgrade him to a subplot, guess what that is? That is sidelining. And no, you posting the Phasma fight does not mean it was a good arc. The Last Jedi does nothing personal for Finn. We don't learn anything about his family. We don't learn anything about his feelings on the First Order, except for one little deleted scene that is a crumb compared to the story he should have had. He spends most of the film getting lectured by Rose Tico, and this is not shade to Rose. Rose deserved a better role too. This is something about Finn and Rose in The Last Jedi. Their arcs are not personal at all. It's an impersonal arc. And I'm not looking to bash fans of The Last Jedi. I have nothing against people who enjoy the movie. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. It gives my asshole hemorrhoids just thinking about it. But I do mean to insult you if you're looking at John Boyega's words and just fucking ignoring them because you don't want to listen because you subjectively like the movie. Let's get something straight. Accountability over entertainment. Does that sound familiar? It's what Ray Fisher says as he's dealing with the shit that happened with 2017 Justice League from that cuck, Joss Whedon. Oh, and if there's any Joss Whedon fans out there, he's a fucking cuck. And if you can love The Last Jedi and still admit that yes, Finn was done dirty, and what happened to John Boyega was wrong. We cool, I ain't got no problems with you. But if you're actually gonna stand up, if you're actually gonna fucking stand up and say, John Boyega, you're wrong, I know more than you. I know more than your personal experiences dealing with Lucasfilm, because I'm a fan of Lucasfilm or The Last Jedi. I'm gonna need you to shut the fuck up. And I'm gonna need you to shut the fuck up even more if you claim to be a positive fan. There is nothing positive about erasing the racism someone goes through just because you want to suck Mickey Mouse's cock. Now, I'm not going to make this about J.J. Abrams versus Rian Johnson because J.J. is gone and Rian Johnson is gone as well. I'm going to make this about Disney Lucasfilm because the problems that John Boyega went through with Lucasfilm existed before Rian Johnson. And when it comes to Finn's story in The Last Jedi, I can criticize that up and down. On a narrative level, it's fucking terrible. Finn's relationship with Han, totally ignored. We don't even get to see him talking about it. And remember, Finn went from fighting Kylo Ren, getting put in a coma, then waking up. For him, Han Solo just died, and there is zero reaction from him, which is a complete contrast to The Force Awakens. His relationship with Rey is not even talked about, but let's be real here. They just didn't want a black man near a white woman. It was one of the biggest, and I mean biggest, talking points during the boycott. Keep the black man away from the white woman. Make sure the don't get shit. We don't want to see him getting a lightsaber. In fact, that was actually a screenshot during the boycott for The Force Awakens. Great. They gave the a lightsaber. That's what they said. In fact, if you look back at the boycott of The Force Awakens because of John Boyega being cast as the male lead, it's like Disney Lucasfilm looked at that boycott and did everything they could to appease those people. And let's look back, they didn't want him to be a Jedi, they didn't want him to be a protagonist, and The Last Jedi objectively didn't make him either. They didn't follow up anything with the Force, and they turned him into a supporting character doing a subplot. They took him out of the main story of the film, so they appeased them there. They didn't want him big on the poster, and look at that, they started off with him small so no one can complain that he wasn't as big anymore in the international posters. They fixed that early. And let's talk about the one thing that I see very few people talk about, mostly because no one wants to talk about, because it is a very uncomfortable subject matter. They didn't want the black man near a white woman, and I have the receipts to show they did not want it. There were people saying white genocide. There were people who said they didn't want their children to think it was okay to, quote, breed with a black man. And it sounds crazy, but I was here for all this. Lots of people were here for all this. And I'll do you guys a solid. If you want to read about what had happened, I will give you links in the description of this video of the best people I know who have talked about this in great detail, because I want you to hear about all the messy details. I'm not going to make a 4-hour video, but I think everyone should know the truth of what happened with Disney Lucasfilm and what they did to John Boyega and who they catered to. And for many people, John Boyega included, The Last Jedi was just going back to a status quo that The Force Awakens didn't have, with black people being second-class characters that no one cares about beyond their subplots. And maybe instead of focusing on his relationship with Rey, instead of focusing on his connection to the Force, we would explore his feelings on being a former stormtrooper, his connections to them, what he feels about it, and how does he feel to be on the opposite side of the battlefield now. Because in The Force Awakens, he didn't have a moment to breathe. It was just fight, fight, survive, survive, make sure Rey doesn't die, fight, fight, coma. Now he has a chance to sit. Now he has a chance to think and wonder what happens to all the other stormtroopers. Is it my responsibility to save them? And I'll be honest with you, it wasn't his responsibility. But you know what? It doesn't even offer the question. It doesn't even have him wonder what happened to my family. It gives nothing to Finn. See, that's the problem with The Last Jedi. It doesn't follow up anything The Force Awakens set up, and it doesn't follow up anything The Force Awakens could have set up. The only thing it does is say that the former slave child soldier is selfish for wanting to live a free life. And the bullshit thing is, I am just regurgitating the information that John Boyega has said. That's the worst thing. I'm not saying anything new. I'm not saying something that Finn fans, that Black fans, that John Boyega hasn't been saying for a very, very long time. And this is what frustrates people. We are not saying anything new. We are saying things we have been saying since 2016 when he started being erased by Disney Lucasfilm. We are saying things when in the first teaser trailer for The Last Jedi, we got one frame of him and a lot of frames of every other character. And we're not talking about the trailer that barely had him in at all. The posters that kept him small or didn't include him. What we are talking about is what John Boyega has said himself, that he was racially sidelined in The Last Jedi and his experience in Disney Star Wars was based off his race. That is all we are saying. We are quoting the man who experienced it himself. And if you are going to sit there, someone who wasn't there, and say, no, John, you're wrong, you're lying, you're jealous, you're this, you're that, or the third, just because you want to defend The Last Jedi, you are wrong. That's it. You're wrong. You can love the movie. You can love it to death. You can beat your meat like you're Rocky fucking Balboa. But you're not going to be right there. You're not going to be right. Because you're taking a victim's words and you're ignoring them just because you like something. And that's wrong. What John Boyega went through was wrong. And I'm always going to say that. And there is no deeper meaning to this video. It is pretty cut and dry. John Boyega said he was sidelined in The Last Jedi, and his experience with Star Wars was based on his race, and he was the only cast member who went through that. That's it. It's about listening to people when they talk. It's about listening to Black people, because you don't want to listen if you don't care what they say. If you're constantly going to erase the racism they go through, then guess what? You are not a positive fan. You're just some annoying cuck who doesn't want to listen. That's it. I can tell you why narratively Finn's arc in The Last Jedi is not good for him. I can tell you why morally it's not good for him. I can explain why it is bad on every single level and why there are little to no redeeming qualities of that arc beyond John Boyega's acting in it, because he acted his ass off. But beyond that, it's a bad story, and Lucasfilm was wrong for pushing it. Because remember, they wouldn't have done that to Adam Driver. They wouldn't have done that to Daisy Ridley. They did that to John Boyega because they were already sidelining John Boyega's Finn. That's it. They were doing it before The Last Jedi. But The Last Jedi is the one that set the status quo, because that's what the movies do. They set the status quo. And you don't gotta believe me. You can disagree with me. You can hate every fucking word I'm saying, but you know what? John Boyega already said it. And I believe him. And I stand with John Boyega, because I'm not gonna be one of those people that excuses racism just because I like a fucking movie. If that's you, hey man, that's you. But guess what? This ain't the YouTube channel for you, pal.
And I checked the email, and it's from J.J. Abrams, the director, and he goes, John, come to Mayfair now. And I was just like, I don't even understand what's going to happen. And I went there, and I went to this restaurant, and J.J. Abrams was just sat there on a table, and he was on his phone. And he was just like, he looked up and he said, John, I just want to thank you. We know that it's been a long process for you. And he goes to me, are you ready to become a leader? Because this will mean something more than just a role. I was just in shock. I felt relief. It's like my mind in that 1 second went back to everything I went through to get to the point, everything I sacrificed, every money I spent, trying to explain to people you have a dream and they don't believe you, everything. It went back there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And sorry. Because I suffered so much for this. Like I put my whole life into it. And it's hard trying to explain to people that you have a dream and you have a vision and your life has never reflected that. Your family doesn't reflect that. My life has changed in this very moment. And I remember I walked down the street. Thank you, love. I don't even know why I cried. The Lord is merciful. Anyway, I'm keeping it real with you, but oh, Lord. But you know when you go back and look at how things have gone, I know you guys have your own stories. Sometimes it just makes you well up. And for me, I just remember leaving that restaurant and everything just felt great. Mind you, I didn't even have money to get home. And I walked from Mayfair to Tottenham Court Road to go and meet Femi. And I walked in the street, I was just there like, woo! And for some reason, it just looked like God had just kissed the city. It was sunny. And I went to Femi, and Femi was waiting in there, and he was nervous, and he goes, yeah, John, yeah. So what's going on? What's going on with that? I go, Femi, we did it. We made history. We did it. And we just hugged. We were just like,